Shabbat Shalom to the truth seekers and truth believers out there. Learning the truth of the word of the Most High Yahweh and learning it to better improve their own life and understanding. First of all, I would like to say I am glad to be back doing these Sabbath day lessons, mini lessons. Officially done with grad school, so I'm actually able to actually dig deep and provide these lessons or these studies um, through the Bible and Quran and any other book that talks about the Most High and the truths and the false within those books as well. So I'd like to say welcome. In today's class, we're going to be talking about our session. We're going to talk about Baal, or Baal, however you want to pronounce it, who is the pagan god of Canaan, and how he connects with the modern day abortion. So we're going to talk about what Baal worship is and how it connects to modern day abortion. So first I want to go into a focal verse out of the book of Enoch, or the first book of Enoch, because there are actually multiple books. Enoch chapter 69 at verse 12. 69 at verse 12. And the name of the fifth is Casdia. This one showed the sons of men all the evil blows of the spirits and of the demons, and the blows that attack the embryo in the womb so that it miscarries. And again, that's attack the embryos in the womb so that it miscarries. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's abortion in the book of Enoch. So they have this demon, or this fallen angel, or this evil spirit, what you want to call it. I consider it a fallen angel. So this demon showed the men how to have an attack on the embryo in the womb so that it miscarries. So this is abortion. This is ancient abortion right here in the book of Enoch. And again, this book shows what all truly happened before the flood. So all this stuff was taught pre-flood. And of course, the sons of Noah probably had these stories, and of course it carried on into the world today. But yeah, this is modern, well, ancient, not modern, ancient abortion. And the blows that attack the soul and bites of the serpent, and the blows that occur at midday, and the sons of the serpent who is strong. So again, the focal point is here: attacks the embryo in the womb so that it miscarries. That is abortion. So that's our focal verse for this lesson, or this session. And if you want to read this whole book, I encourage you to. This is one of the books that they do not consider part of the canon, or books that they really don't really mention much. But I encourage you to read these books. All these books that they do not consider part of the canon holds a lot of information. Just like I didn't know this until I read the book. So, and I've read this book before, but I didn't really put much thought into it, as I was very, very young in my truth seeking. But I actually reread it again, and it caught my attention, and it brought me some thoughts of what's going on in the world today with the abortion laws in the United States. So that is the focal verse for this lesson. So I also want to go into Ecclesiastes 1 at 9. Ecclesiastes 1 at verse 9. Ecclesiastes 1 at verse 9. The things that has been, it is that which shall be. So again, what has happened in the past shall happen today. Whatever happened back in the day is still happening now. All because it happened in biblical times. Well, let me not say biblical times, because we are still in biblical times. In ancient times or in times of old doesn't mean that it's not happening now. There are many things that has been evil at once in Scripture and transformed into something good. And there's a verse that says that you cannot turn something bad into something good. And we can look at that up. So we have to understand that Scripture tells us a lot, and we just got to put some thought into it with history. And again, I'm just looking through something. But you cannot assume that everything we're doing now is for good. We got to look into the history of these things that we do, and how it connects with the evils of the past. And again, it just shows you that this has nothing to do with the Most High. It is all evil spirits that are bringing this upon us and making us believe this stuff is good, and it's not. So again, the things that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. Okay, so what has been done in the past is going to be happening now. And there is no new thing under the sun. There is no new thing under the sun. What's happening now has happened before, just by different names, just by different actions or different meanings. Okay, only because that we say it's okay now doesn't mean it's okay. It's not. One thing the Most High will never do is tell you to kill an innocent being. Never. So I want to go into who is Baal. And I want to go into this article that I have pulled up here. Who was Baal, or who is, because this being is still worshipped today, unknowingly for the most part. So let's read this part here. So it says Baal or Baal was, to some extent, a rather generic name that various cultures applied to various deities in and around the land of Canaan. So these are the many nations that worship these pagan gods around the area of Israel. So, for example, the Egyptians had a pantheon of gods. The Moabites had a pantheon of gods. Edomites, all these other nations that were around Israel worshipped these pagan gods. And Baal, which is just a title, he goes by other names like Moloch and Baal, B-E-L, goes by Baal. That's just a term that says Lord, and we're going to read it right here. It could be used as a generic term for Lord or a master. That's one reason why a lot of Israelites do not use the word Lord, because that's actually a reference to Baal. Okay, so we try to avoid that, and this is one of the terms that they replaced the Most High's name with throughout Scripture. Okay, so we have to find the history around this, and why was this name or this title put into our scriptures. And that's for a reason. The Most High has a name. And again, that's another class that I already did sometime last year, talking about the name of the Most High and why it matters, and why we shouldn't be using terms like Lord and God in replace of his name. There is much power in his name. Much power. So why aren't we using it? It was applied to specific deities that influenced the Israelites at key points in history. So there are many mentioning of this specific being throughout Scripture, and we're going to go through a few of these scriptures today. Not all of them, just a few. And we want to go through all of them. We'll be here over an hour, and I'm trying to stick or be close to an hour as possible. The Baal mentioned in the Bible was a universal fertility god and a storm god associated with bringing rain and dew into the Canaan area. So this is an area that didn't receive much rain. So these pagan worshippers prayed and worshiped to Baal for rain, to grow their crops and just to be able to survive, and grow food to feed themselves. So they prayed and worshiped to this god, wishing for rain, etc. The Phoenicians called him the Lord of the Heavens. So again, that's another nation that was close in the proximity of Israel. And we're going to stop there. And again, this is just an article from BibleStudyTools.com. Not an article, but a little couple information. This is actually posted last year, about a year ago. And it's one of them golden calves that they worship in place for Baal. This is one of the golden calves similar to the one they worshiped when Moses in the desert went up the mountain to get the Ten Commandments, and they was building this golden calf from the gold that they had. Again, Israel always fell back to Baal. It's like a marriage. Israel is married to the Most High, Yahweh, and we always fall back to that ex that always did us wrong. It's like today in today's world where women would have a good guy and then always want to go back to the player or the thug. It's something similar to that. That's what it pretty much is. Always falling back to that bad guy that we don't belong with, and always mistreating the good guy. Okay. So again, Baal is also referred to Moloch and Baal, B-E-L, as they're all part of the same pantheon of gods, or just titles of the same God. So where is Baal mentioned in Scripture? So let's just look at a few of these scriptures. I want the book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, chapter 25. And we're going to read 1 through 3. Verse 1 through 3. Again, this is just some mentionings of Baal and the many different add-ons to a specific name. So number 1, verse 1. And Israel abode in Shabbat, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And that's just another nation that was in the area of Canaan, or Israel. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. So it's talking about the Moabites called the people unto the sacrifice of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. So they bowed down to these pagan gods. And one of them is Baal. And Israel joined himself. So Israel, the nation of Israel, who's supposed to be following the Most High Yahweh, was following the customs of the daughters of Moab, as they sacrificed to their gods and bowed down to them. So these are idols, pagan worshippers that brought Israel into their pagan worship. Again, we're cheating. Israel is the wife. Yahweh, the Most High, is the husband. And we're cheating by worshiping this pagan god, Baal, pure. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Israel. So our husband, Yahweh, is angered towards his wife, Israel. And again, I'm just putting this in context based off husband and wife, connecting the dots here. We always fell back into worshiping this pagan god or these pagan gods, knowing that we shouldn't be doing it. We always wanted to be worshiping like these nations around us, instead of just following what the Most High tells us to do. And that's why we're put through so much as a nation, because we refuse to hearken to the God that chose us to be his nation. We're supposed to be the ones teaching this truth to the other nations, but we always want to be like them. We always want to be like the pagans, which he told us not to follow after. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 12. Jeremiah 12 at verse 16. Jeremiah 12 at verse 16. So it says, "For even thy brethren in the house of thy father, even thou hast dealt." Is this the right verse? Yeah. No, it's 16. Not 6, excuse me. Jeremiah 12 at 16. No, that wasn't sounding right. "And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, Yahweh liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of my people." So again, as they taught my people to swear by Baal. Again, these other nations taught Israel about this pagan god, Baal, and they decide to worship. We need to make sure that we're not following after these pagan gods that are idols. They can't do anything. But again, we feel like we want to be like these other nations. So again, this is just another mentioning that we were going after these pagan gods and worshiping them instead of our own God, which brought us into the many captivities that we were placed into, not hearkening unto the Most High. Jeremiah 23 at verse 26 and 27. And again, this is just mentionings of the Lord Baal. I'm not really getting too deep into it right here. How long? This is 26. "How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yeah, they are prophets of deceit of their own hearts." 27. "Which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man and his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal." So again, this is our forefathers forgetting the Most High's name for Baal. That's pretty much what's going on now. They replace the Most High name in Scripture with the term Lord, as you see here in verse 27. Baal and Lord means the same thing. So we forgot the Most High's name because we're using Baal in our own scriptures today and unknowingly worshiping Baal. Our forefathers forgot the Most High's name, not by forgetting his name. They knew his name. They forgot his name because they was worshiping another God and not theirs. Worshiping someone else by forgetting their name. That's what he means by this. Our forefathers forgot the Most High because they was worshiping Baal. Hosea chapter 2. And we're going to do 16 through 17. 16 through 17. Hosea chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. "And it shall be at that day, says Yahweh, that thou shalt call me Isha, and shalt call me no more Beli or Bala," however you want to pronounce that. Again, this is Baal to me. So again, we're going to be calling him his true name and not by the term Baal or Lord. "For I will take away the name of Belium," again, that's just a plural version of Baal, "out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by her name." Okay. And again, this is the Most High's mercy on the Most High mercy on Israel, by worshiping this pagan god or these pagan gods, because this is a plural version of Baal. So as we can see that the people of the world worship these pagan deities at that time and even today, and they engaged in human sacrifice, cannibalism, and child murder in the name of their pagan gods Moloch, Baal, etc., as part of a religious ritual for a better life for themselves. Let me just say that. Baal and Moloch became identified as the Roman god Saturn, which is a lot which a lot of us unknowingly worship today. In honor of their god, they will call children into a fiery pit made of an idol image of their god. So again, this goes back to that golden calf, and there's actually a picture that I saw on one of these articles of, and I'm gonna talk about this one in a moment. But here, so this is pretty much similar to the little idol that they had, and this is a golden calf, and they would put the baby on this, and then the fire would consume the child. It's another one here, and it's not exactly, but it's similar to that. Not recently, I think this was a couple of years ago. Here we go. So this article here, child sacrifice in biblical Phoenicia. It's an article from last year, November of 2021, and it's pretty much discussed that they actually found remains of infant children in Tanzania, which is northern Africa. This was actually the ancient city of Carthage. They found hundreds, not just 10 or 20. They found hundreds of buried infants, believed to be part of a child sacrifice ritual to pagan gods in that time. It's actually, like I mentioned earlier, this culture or this event end up making its way into the Israelite culture again, because they always fell back to pagan worship and Baal worship. So again, this is something that they found. They found hundreds of buried infants in Carthage, Tanzania. So if you want to read that article, I can drop the links inside the description box. Good read. And again, a lot of people say that this is false, but I'm just putting it out there. It makes sense because at that time and in that area, they did do this type of stuff through scripture. Okay. So now let's go into the connection of pagan god of Canaan and child sacrifice and its connection to modern day abortion. Okay, the connection between child sacrifice and pagan worship and how it's connected to modern day abortion. So as we mentioned in the book of Enoch, chapter 69 and verse 12, that fallen angels or demons taught humans the art of abortion, how to cause injury to an embryo while it's in the womb, causing it to miscarriage. Again, this was taught to man. So let's look in another book, Barnabas. So again, this is just another lost book that was not included in the scripture. And again, it's a plethora of books. over 200. How do I know this? Because this is actually written in the Apocrypha that there are over 200 books that were written at a specific period of time. So I can probably much say there was probably more than 200 and something books, maybe close to 300 books written about the Most High and as it relates to biblical history. In biblical, I keep saying biblical times because that's what most people refer to as, but in ancient times, let me say that. So I want to go to chapter 14. And again, this is a good read. I didn't read through all of it. I just read through the introduction and skimmed through it. And I was doing some research and I found that chapter 14 has a very good verse. Chapter 14, verse 11. And again, they have a lot to do. I think chapter 11 is pretty much commandments and laws. Chapter 14, verse 11. So we're right here. Chapter 14, verse 11. It says, "You shall not destroy your conceptions before they are brought forth, nor kill them after they are born." I pretty much think that is self-explanatory for the most part. You shall not destroy your conceptions before, that means when it's in the womb, they are brought forth, nor kill them after they are born. So in child sacrifice, pretty much the latter part, it happens after you're born, and abortion is pretty much the first part, which is before you were born. So this is a connection between abortion, that you shouldn't do it, and child sacrifice, that you should not do it. Let me read that again in case somebody didn't hear this. You shall not destroy your conceptions before they are brought forth, nor kill them after they are born. And I think that's enough I got to say about that. And again, this is from this book on the screen. If you would like to read it, I would highly encourage you to, if you want to do some studying into that. Again, I haven't read the whole thing. I just read the introduction and looked into the history of it. And again, I think it's a credible book. And I really want to read more in this and do a study on this book. So I will be doing some reading on this for the coming month or so. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to, and I added Wisdom of Solomon on here, but I don't think I want to hit on that. Let me reread it again in case I want to add it. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think what Wisdom of Solomon has. Chapter 15, verse 5 through 7. Ooh. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Matthew. Let's go into the New Testament. Matthew. Again, those are pretty much Old Testament verses, but I want to go into the New Testament and show you that Matthew 18, and again, I'm just looking at my notes, and because I miss my location, 10. So Matthew 18, verse 10. This is from the Messiah himself, Yeshua. It says, "Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones." So don't despise the ones that's growing in the womb. Don't take their lives for granted. Don't despise them. Don't hate them. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. This life should have an opportunity to live. And you never know what that being could be possible or capable of doing. You don't. Think about biblical times where Pharaoh or the Romans killed off all the male children because of a threat of the Messiah, or the threat of somebody building up a nation, building up their people. Think about that. There was hundreds of children killed just to try to stop the Messiah from being born. You never know what this being can grow up to be. But today we believe that abortion is good. How? Women out there talking about they have a choice. How? This is a being. Looking at this history, this was taught to us by beings that were not from the Most High. But we think it's okay now. We're bringing something bad into something good, which is not possible. Matthew, same chapter, go to 14. Is it 14? Yes, 14. Matthew 18 at 14. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones shall perish. Again, they shouldn't perish. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to be conceived. But you want to make that decision for a being that cannot even make their own decision. That's not right. And I know I'm gonna get some backlash off this, and you know, I don't care. If you are a believer in the Most High and believer of this book, you will be against abortion. You will be against the evils of this world that make you believe it's okay. This is a life that you are making a decision for, to live or to die. The only person who should be making that decision is the Most High. Now, let's go into forms of Baal worship, and why does it require, not really why, but how it requires child sacrifice. So let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1 at 5. Jeremiah chapter 1 at 5. So it says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Okay, so again, it tells us that before this being was conceived, the Most High knew him. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified it. He sanctified it. Any being that comes into this world is sanctified. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Again, the Most High is causing this baby to come forth. This being is being a blessing into this world. You don't know, but you are making a decision that the Most High don't want you making. Maybe Baal wants you to make that decision, because Baal wants you to kill these children to worship him. A lot of people think sex is just for pleasure. It's not. The main purpose of sex is to multiply. The main purpose of sex is to multiply, not for your pleasure. If you're having sex, means you're ready for a child. People are having sex, find out they're pregnant, going to get these Plan B contraceptives, and then or having abortions. Why are you having sex if you're killing these beings? Jeremiah 19, 3 through 6. Let me see if I want this. Is it 19 or 16? 19. Yeah. Jeremiah 3 through 6. So it says, and said, hear ye the word of Yahweh, O King of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will bring evil unto this place, the which whosoever heareth his ears shall tingle, because they have forsaken me. Again, this is the Most High speaking, and have estranged this place, and have burned incense unto in it unto other gods. Again, it's going back to those pagan gods that have nothing to do with the Most High, whom neither they nor their fathers have known. Again, our forefathers worshipped Yahweh. So we end up worshiping these pagan gods later on. Nor the kings of Judah, and have filled this place with the blood of innocents. So again, this is going back to beings that one don't want to that didn't choose to be here. I'm not saying don't want to be, but didn't choose to be here. A being that had not sinned. So again, we shouldn't be killing it because that's innocent blood. They have built also the high places of, again, Baal. So this is telling you that there is blood sacrifices or the killing of innocent beings because of Baal or Baal. To burn their sons. Again, this is what that practice was. This is a form of child sacrifice in Baal worship. They have built also high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire for burnt offerings unto Baal. So again, it's just showing us that child sacrifice were part of Baal worship, which I commanded not. The Most High commanded us not to do this, nor speak it. We shouldn't speak upon it. Neither came it into my mind. Therefore, behold, the day come, says Yahweh, that this place shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, and the valley of slaughter. So again, they created high places in order to burn their sons through the fire for burnt offerings unto this pagan god Baal. This is proof that child sacrifice was part of Baal worship. Okay, so let's go into another article. Modern Baal worship. And this is a really old article from almost 4 years ago. I just found it interesting. And this is from psd.church. And again, I'm going to drop these links in the description box as well. So we're going to read this. So it says some forms of Baal worship required child sacrifice, like we just mentioned in, what was it, Jeremiah 19, verse 5. They have built high places of Baal to burn, and we just read this, it's right here. They have built high places of Baal to burn their sons in the fire as burnt offerings to Baal, a thing which I never commanded nor spoke of, nor did I ever enter my mind. So what's worse, the murderers felt no shame. So these beings didn't care about killing their own children. because they wanted a better life for themselves. They thought that killing their children for burnt offerings unto this pagan god, that they will have a better life or better luck. Were they ashamed because, and this is Jeremiah chapter 6 at 15. It says, were they ashamed because of the abomination they have done? They were not even ashamed at all. They did not even know how to blush. Therefore they shall fall amongst them who fall. At the time that I punish them, again, I'm trying to read like I'm in the King James. No, it's not the King James. Right, it's not. At the time that I punish them, not thee, they shall be cast down, says Yahweh. Okay, and then that's another version. If I read King James, they will be thee and not them. Okay, so this is another example of Israel going into that Baal worship. So with King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, that's a perfect example of Israel falling to Baal worship because of Jezebel. Okay, she worshipped Baal, and he ended up getting Ahab, the king of Israel, to worship Baal as well, and help make the whole nation fall into idolatry. Of course, she was probably a Baal worshiper because the end of her name, it has Baal in it. So it says, no shame at all. They made Baal worship the national religion of Israel. So again, they went from following the Most High back into following this pagan worship and worshiping these false gods that the Most High does not want us to do. And this is, like I said, this is not the only time. It's many times this has happened, and this is what caused us to go through the many captivities that we have been through. And the punishment is still continuing today, because a lot of us knowingly do these things that we shouldn't be doing. So, but again, this is the way of the world. This is prophecy. It's all going to play out in the Most High's hands. So all we can do is pray, keep our mind in the scriptures, and learn this book as best as we can before time is up. Let's continue. There is a new form of Baal worship today where children are unashamedly murdered. It's called abortion, and it's become a national religion of convenience. The latest U.S. statistics are from 2014. Again, this is from 2018. This is relatively old, but again, it's an interesting read. The latest U.S. statistics are from 2014, in which almost 1 million babies are murdered. Surveys showed rape victims made up less than 0.5% of the cases. Physical health threats to the mother and baby made up 7%. The top 3 reasons for abortion: 25% said not ready to have a child. 25% said they're not ready for a child, but you're having sex. Again, the main purpose of sex is to multiply. Not because of the pleasure, because you should pleasure the person you love, but you should also want to have babies with them. And again, a lot of these abortions are probably happening because they're not even married. 25% are said not to be ready to have a child. 23% said they couldn't afford a baby. Why are you having sex if you cannot afford a baby? 19% said they were done having children. Okay. Florida records a reason for every abortion within the state. Out of 71,740 abortions in 2015, 92% selected no reason. No reason of having an abortion. 92%. So only 8% had a reason. It is horrifying enough for women to murder their children for any reason, let alone no reason. That is horrible. 92%. To make things worse, a new ad was released supporting Planned Parenthood. And we're going to talk about Planned Parenthood in a moment. This has nothing to do with supporting people with having children. No support. Their main agenda is for those abortions. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. The ad is only 41 seconds long and it's truly shocking. It features an adorable baby girl with big, bright blue eyes, with a lullaby playing in the background. Then 3 phrases flash on the screen, one by one. She deserves to be loved. The baby smiles and giggles. She deserves to be wanted. It pans to the smiling baby again. She deserves to be a choice. The screen goes black and says, "Stay with PP." She deserves to be a choice, and the screen goes black. So it's like the baby was never existed. So you're seeing this baby that they say had big, bright blue eyes and a smile, and then they said it'd be a choice, and the screen goes black, like it never existed. This ad was so shocking, people thought it was produced by pro-lifers to argue against abortion. Yet we've reached a point in our culture where pro-abortion groups aren't even hiding their agenda anymore. It's hard to argue. It's just a fetus, not a person. It's just a fetus, not a person. When you show a person of a beautiful baby in your ad, personalize her by calling her she, and then she deserves to be wanted. And if she isn't wanted, then she deserves to be killed before she's even born. So sad. They did not know how to blush. In truth, many women who get abortions are like Ahab's son Azariah. They turn to Baal. Because they think he's the best option. And this is 2 Kings 1 at verse 2, and I'm not going to read it. Again, if you want to read that, you can. Jot that down and read that. But that option leads to death, regret, pain, misery, and judgment. God is very pro-choice. He wants us to choose not to murder the children he has woven together in his room. That is Psalms 139 at verse 13. Again, I'm not reading it, but you can. He wants us to choose him, not Baal. So again, abortion is similar. I'm not say similar. It's exactly the same as a child sacrifice. Again, we're not worshiping the Most High Yah in this world today. The God that's worshipped is Baal, and this agenda that's going on with the abortion is just another reason of killing us off and causing us to worship these pagan gods. And I can't remember what article I found or what statistic. I can't find it, but I remember reading, this is earlier during the week, that most of the people or women that's having abortions are of African American descent. So that's really heartbreaking that our people are killing off our youth because of some stupid reasons. Not ready for a child, don't want a child, or no reason at all. You're killing off this innocent being because you don't want it. That child was conceived for a reason. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason of happening. But we as humans want to fall and make those type of decisions that we shouldn't be making. We have all these laws being put in place or attempting to be put in place where abortion is legal and anybody can do it. That doesn't make sense. That just shows you that this world is not of the Most High. Because so much is going on now that goes against Scripture that's being easily accepted today. So much. Throughout Scripture, it tells you that this world has been given unto the wicked. And we don't sit back and think that, maybe this is wrong because it's being easily accepted in this world today. So it's another article. Baal worship is alive and well in the world. And this one is from 2021. This is relatively old as well. But I just really wanted to look at this picture here. Now, this is actually in California. This is an owl. And this is actually Moloch. A lot of world leaders go to this. I can't remember if it's every 4 years or something. I believe it's every 4 years. And they all meet up in California and do this little ritual out in the woods. And again, it's a secret place. I've seen some videos where people snuck in and did some recordings, and sad to say that one person who did that ended up getting killed somehow. I think it's all was a, and then I might keep that to myself. But yeah, this is interesting. So I think it's called Pleasant Grove or something like that. I didn't do much research into this recently, but I did do some research in this a few years ago. I'm not going to read all of this, but I just really wanted to show you this picture of this little thing that they're doing here. So this Baal worship is alive and well in America and the world, though they do not call it that today. Let me explain. First, we must look back in time and see how Baal was worshipped. So that's exactly what we need to do as people. In order to understand what's going on today and if it's right or wrong, we have to look into scripture and see how it connects. So again, if you wanted to see about specific elements, you have to go back into the scripture and see how that was done in scripture. Find all the mentions of Baal, like we did in some of these verses I've mentioned. With me searching up Baal, I was able to find out that why he was worshipped, what was the purpose of worshiping him, as well as the whole child sacrifice part. So it says, first we must look back in time and see how Baal was worshipped. Actually, there are two gods which are essentially worshipped the same way, Baal and Asroth. Moloch was another such god. Two practices particular are mentioned in scripture. So it says, first, there was sex orgies under every green tree. And then second, there was passing of babies through the fire. So this is the child sacrifice part that we want to focus on. So it says, this was murdering the babies that resulted from the orgies by throwing them alive into a fiery pit to be burnt to death. So again, these are unwanted babies. The same thing that's going on now with abortion. Wasn't that one of the things that we mentioned? That the reason of why they was doing this? 25% not ready for a child. 92% selected no reason in Florida. So this tells us exactly what's going on. This was murdering the babies that resulted from the orgies. Again, this is just sex for pleasure. And when they was pregnant, they didn't want them, so they put them into a fiery pit to be burned to death. Child sacrifice, abortion. These things were done in the same name of pagan idols called Baal, Asroth, and Moloch. So these are the same gods we mentioned. We didn't really mention Asroth, but again, that's just another name of this pagan gods. How are we doing this today? The gods have been renamed. Sexual freedom. Again, people having sex just for the pleasure. That is sexual freedom. And a woman's right to choose. This goes back to abortion. Woman, and that's going on today. Women should have the right of having an abortion or not. That is pretty much what's going on now with the law. They don't want the state to say you can't have an abortion in this state, or you can have an abortion at a specific age in this state. They want to have the freedom or the right to choose when to have this abortion. That is what's going on today. Sexual freedom. People just want to have sex just to have sex, just for the pleasure. And that is not the main purpose of sex. The religion is called pleasure and convenience. Again, sexual freedom is pleasure. The right to choose to have a baby is convenience. We live in an age of loose moral standards where it is acceptable and encouraged for us to have sexual partners outside of marriage. That's a problem. Just watch television. There is hardly a show on TV that does not glorify hunting sexual partners or having such relationships without being married first. And then they go into ways of or methods of having an abortion. And I'm not going to read that. Look here. It says one of the high temples is Planned Parenthood. That is the child. That is the high place. See, all this connects. We had to actually think of what happened in Baal worship or Baal worship and what's going on now. They created high places to get rid of these children. This is the same thing as Planned Parenthood. If you look at the building of the Planned Parenthood, it looks quite similar to the Aztecs child sacrifice temple. The same pyramid shape. So it says one of the high temples is Planned Parenthood, an organization whose sole purpose is to make modern Baal worship acceptable to the people. In ancient times, much of Israel was drawn into Baal worship. Their neighboring countries practice it. Again, we already mentioned that. God called them out to be separate. Again, we should be set apart. That is throughout Scripture. But they want to be like the world. History repeats itself. Many churches today take a soft stance on sin, particularly sexual sin, divorce, remarriage, blah, blah, blah. Like the ancient Jews, they are mixing worship of Christ or Yeshua with the worship of Baal. That's exactly what this world is today. They're mixing the truth with a lie. Jesus told us to come out from amongst them, be separate. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to read here. And again, if you want to read this article, again, this is kind of old, but again, it's still pretty relevant today. This is on the BibleStop.wordpress.com. Again, I'll drop this link in the description box as well. Let's go to where it mentions a bit about burning through the passing through the fire, and I think that's something that it's been on my mind once I read it. I think it's in 18. Bible practices. Yes, it should be here. Yes, right here. So we can read all this. We're going to read 9 through 14 since it's a very interesting topic. Abominable practices. So Deuteronomy 18, I'm going to read 9 through 14. When thou art come into the land which Yahweh thy God give thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of the nations. So this is again telling us that we should not be following the ways of these nations that worship these pagan gods and not the Most High Yahweh. 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that marketh his son or a daughter to pass through the fire. There shall not be found amongst any one of you that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire. That goes back to Baal worship and child sacrifice. Or that use divinations, and that is something I found quite interesting as I was looking through the Quran, and this is something they practice. So that's one reason why I really believe that the Quran is not 100% factual. I think again that goes back to what was mentioned in the article, that they're mixing um, the Most High worship with their own practices that they did in Arabia at the time of Muhammad. They did a lot of divinations and a lot of things that does not align with lost books that I've read, as well as the scripture. Like I said, I studied that book last year, and it just doesn't sit right in my spirit. Anyway, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or let's read the rest of this, see if I have to go further. That's pretty much what I wanted was 10. For these nations which thou shalt possess, hearkening unto observers of times, and doing, yeah, that's all I wanted. So again, Deuteronomy 18:10, again, where it says you should not make your sons or daughter pass through the fire. Abominable practices. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at my notes as well. I have a link in my notes, but I don't have it on my. Let me see this. Oh, it's just a link of some verses. Okay, well, let's go to another article. Baal Worship in America. Now, this is a recently new article. This is from about 3 months ago. No, 1 month ago. Yeah, a month and a half ago. Okay, I don't know where I got 3 months from. Anyway, Baal Worship in America. And I guess we can read all of this. I'm looking at the time, and I'm about at an hour and 3 minutes. So it says, have you ever heard of Baal worship? It's mentioned several times in the Bible. We have mentioned that it is never a good thing. In biblical times, people worship Baal, sacrifice their newborn children by throwing them into burning altars. We already mentioned that. Why am I bringing this up now? Well, I'm shocked. A shocking story recently broke in our nation's capital. Big media and local politicians are doing their best to ignore it, and it is playing out in. It is playing out in, sadly, predictable ways. Here are a basic fact. Pro-life activists became increasingly concerned that an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C. was performing illegal late-term abortions. They confronted a truck driver who was seen removing large containers from the clinic. The driver allowed the activists to take one of the containers. In it, they discovered the remains of more than 100 aborted babies. This is the article. Well, it was an article. I saw it on the news about this, and I saw this, or maybe it was on YouTube. I think it was on YouTube. I saw this. So it says they discovered that more than 100 aborted babies, including several full-term baby bodies, therefore are indications some of the babies may have been born alive. The truck belonged to a waste disposal company in Baltimore, Maryland. until just a few days ago. The company advertised on its website that it utilizes waste to energy. So yeah, this is pretty much the video I saw. So again, this is pretty much saying that this is the reason why all this abortion stuff is happening now. And again, they trying to play it out as far as women having the right to choose, but it's all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. So again, I'm gonna put this article in there as well. Um, this is actually from a Lutheran church. I'm not gonna read this. It was a part that I did like, and I wanted to read here, but I think we're gonna stop it there. I'm trying to look, see. It was another article, piece of art. Here's Moloch right here. A statue. This is actually displayed in Rome, and we wonder why Baal worship is so pushed now. Because the people who control the churches are the Roman Empire. And instead of Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church. This had a very good part in it that I wanted to read too, but I said I should have highlighted some of this stuff, so I don't gotta be searching for it. Here it is, that book of that we mentioned. Unwanted children in ancient Rome were abandoned outside the city. Here you go. Exposure, abortion, child sacrifice, and other forms of inf- infanticide, more often than not, were both legal and respectable in pagan societies from the earliest times. Unwanted children in ancient Rome were abandoned outside the city walls to die from exposure to the elements or from the attack of wild foraging beasts. The Greeks often gave pregnant women heavy doses of herbal and medical abortifacts. The Canaanites threw their children onto great flaming fires. So that's pretty much what we read. Um, Large stones and hot coals heaped onto their bodies. Egyptians disposed of their unwanted children, especially girls, by disemboweling and dismembering them. The collagen was used for cosmetics. And a lot of women don't know that. That a lot of cosmetics are made from um, collagen of, you know, either dead beings or even aborted um, embryos. Hey, I'm just rereading it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm easily distracted when I'm reading. Anyway, well, easily distracted. What I mean is when I'm doing something, and I found something interesting, I'm going to continue reading it. There was one more. Oh, this one. This is another article that mentions some information on abortion as being a part of Baal worship. I'm not going to read that one. I think this is the one I wanted. Oh, here are some facts. I think it's this one right here about Planned Parenthood. But I'm going to read this first. What part did I want? This part. So one I want to see, Planned Parenthood is the largest promoter of surgical abortions. Planned Parenthood poses a danger to women. Planned Parenthood spreads religion of humanism. Planned Parenthood does not oppose teenage sex. Again, they don't care about actually providing assistance for parents. They want you to have these abortions. They want you to have these abortions. But the part I wanted to read here is PP, or Planned Parenthood, is population control. This is the main purpose of them. They want you to have abortions to control the population. As you know, Bill Gates is a big advocate of this. I believe he even provided funding to Planned Parenthood. I believe I've read an article about that, but I don't know. I gotta really look at that. So that despite all of its heretic about being a human's health agency or as advocate for poor women, Planned Parenthood is first and foremost a population control organization, according to the Planned Parenthood Federation of America's Federation Declaration of Principles, 1980, page 12. One of the 5 general goals of Planned Parenthood is to combat the world population crisis by helping to bring about a population of stable size and an optimum environment in the United States. The PPFA 1993-94 annual reports also bragged. In February 1994, PPFA launched a new initiative to ensure Planned Parenthood's continuing leadership in global population issues. It is called the Global Vision Project. Planned Parenthood's activities in sterilization and abortions could rightly be traced to its intense desire to reduce population control. Planned Parenthood used our money to promote its agenda. $150 million of American taxpayer dollars. This is from 95, so I know for sure that can be updated. But here, let's look at the stats. So it says tax. They have about 354,871 abortions per year. About 97% of the patients at Planned Parenthood or clients gets abortions. So again, the main purpose of Planned Parenthood is not to provide assistance to future mothers or future families. It is to get them to have abortions. 40% of U.S. abortions are done by Planned Parenthood. Look at this circle graph. What Planned Parenthood does for pregnant clients. Again, I just mentioned it's not for parental or prenatal services or even adoption referrals. It is for abortions. That's the blue. That is the main purpose. So yeah, we have to be able to make these connections of what's going on in the world today with what's going on or what has went on in Scripture. It gives us a better understanding of what the Most High ordained and what He does not, um, and help us live the life we should be living, the righteous life on that straight path, in order to make it to the kingdom ahead. And that's the purpose of living, is to make it into the kingdom ahead. All right, let's go into the conclusion. Again, this is just pretty much just a study and looking into this and trying to make these connections. And I hope and I wish that I can do a little bit more studying on this, and I will, and update what I find in future sessions. Um, let's go into the fifth commandment. So, Exodus chapter 20 and verse 13. It's very simple. Thou shalt not kill. This doesn't matter about if the being is alive or not. If it's in your womb, it's alive. It's alive. If it's conceived, it's alive. Okay, you shouldn't be killing this innocent being because you want to or you're not ready to have a child. This being was given to you for a reason. It was given to you for a reason. Let the thing live. Let it live. And I hate to say thing because you don't know if it's boy or girl, but let the being live. The Most High told us not to partake in these practices. These are the customs of the nations, the heathens. We should not go in their ways. Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 6. And we're going to do 16 through 17. 16 through 17. These 6 things do the Most High, or Yah, hate. Yeah, 7 are an abomination unto Him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. Again, an embryo is an innocent being that should have a chance to live. The Most High hates anyone who sheds innocent blood. And again, most people are going to say this is with a living being. That's no. This goes to the conceived as well. The little embryo in the womb as well. Isaiah chapter 13 at verse 11. Chapter 13 at 11. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. And I will punish the world for their evil, for you killing these innocent beings, and the wicked of their iniquities. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to be ceased. And I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. Hmm. Psalms. It's going to be our last one. 139. Hopefully I got this one right. Where do I want to start? I didn't put a verse, but we can leave it at that because I'm running like 120. So I hope you all got some out of this. And again, I wish I can go a little bit deeper, but I'm gonna continue looking into this and adding on. Um, we should have a choice on if we want a child or not. You know, if the Most High blessed us with this gift, we should cherish it and let it be able to live the life that it should deserve. And again, a lot of stuff going on right now about women should have a choice. I think all of that is a bunch of bull, because the Most High done that for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and we should be able to allow the Most High to do His will. Um, and of course, learning the scriptures for ourselves and understanding that we shouldn't just be having sex just to have sex, because that's a sin anyway. But we should be able to find our partners with fidelity and truly get to know someone before we even have sex with them, and even also marrying them before we ever knew that in the first place. But I think that's the main issue with what's going on now is so many people are so willing to sin that they want to continue sinning more because they can't take what's happening as far as having a child. That's a gift. Um, maybe in assuming there's it's a gift that they do not want at the time, but again, you shouldn't just be having sex just to have sex. That is the main issue with the whole thing that I have. I feel that if we go back to the truth and follow the laws of the Bible, we would have to follow the laws of man, because the laws of man would never be better than the laws of the Most High. It doesn't matter what laws they pass, there's still going to be issues in this world. There will only be solutions if we fall back to the one true law, and that is the law within Scripture. So I hope you all have a great rest of your Shabbat. Get your rest. Keep your mind in the Scriptures. And I'll catch you all later. Shabbat Shalom. Have a good one.